What I wanted to do in the next hour or so is first take a minute to think through all that we've lived together, all that we've experienced, all that we've encountered along the way, and then have time for us to share. It's a big group, but I'd really like for us to try to share deeply. And the question that we want to hear from you all about as we review our time together is, what hope or desire do you bring back with you from this experience? As we finish our time here and we move back to where we are from, whether we're leaving tomorrow, some late tonight, or in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, eventually we'll go back to some place we call home, and we ask you to think about what it is that you're bringing back with you after this weekend together. So, with that said, I need to turn on a little reflective music. Set the tone. Technical difficulty. Okay. So, if you remember, at the very beginning of our time together, as we were just gathering in the Lateran Palace, one of the first things that we did was invite you to take a deep breath. Remember, we had just gotten started. Some of you, unfortunately, hadn't arrived yet. But Alexander and I came up on stage and we said, take a breath. You made it. You made it to Rome. We've traveled far, some of us on metro across the city, some for hours, some for days. We said, we made it, and we're here together in Rome. So just take a moment now to return to that time, return to that moment. Remember gathering for our first cups of coffee, seeing the faces of the people we were with, starting to get to know new friends, new faces, new languages, new accents. We heard a couple of short speeches, a couple of short talks at the Lateran Palace. We heard about the space that we were in, the design, the graphics, the inspiration. Heard a bit about the faith communication in the Digital World program. After a few hours together, we made our way through the palace, down into the cathedral, into the basilica, for a couple hours of church. First, we sat for the penitential liturgy in the presence of the relic of St. Francis de Sales that was in the church. After the penitential liturgy, after many people had time to participate in the sacrament of reconciliation, we moved on to the international Mass. Or at least some of us were starting to get cold in the church. And we were able to listen, participate in Mass together for the first time, even though we were just getting to know each other as a community. Just like that, the first day was over, we boarded the buses, some of us took off on foot, and made our way to what was going to be our homes for this weekend. Had a quick meal and we were off to bed early because the next day we started very early. We met down in front of what were the Vatican radio offices. Just at the end, a long pilgrimage up the road to St. Peter's Basilica. Once we'd all gathered together, we made our way through the crowd. And we went into the pilgrimage path and we followed it up through St. Peter's Square, all the way up to the Basilica, where we made our way through the Holy Door. we walked through the cathedral, through the basilica, and we received a blessing. And just as quickly as he walked in, we walked back out, seeing St. Peter's Square filled with the first rays of the morning. We made our way around the corner over to have a quick coffee and cookie before heading into Paul VI's Audience Hall, starting to get seated, get settled to hear from our wonderful speakers and also from the Pope. We heard such a moving talk from Maria Ressa. We've met for the first time our friend Colin over here. We heard his wonderful testimony as well. And finally the Pope arrives. Seemed like hours. We heard his words. And we watched as he came down into the audience and met and greeted with so many people. Some of us were able to meet him as well. And then we crossed the Vatican, went over to the Vatican canteen, had lunch, and before we had time to rest, we were back off to another office, to another space, to hear more talks from Eli, Paterno, and Chris. We engaged in a dialogue with them. We learned about different digital spaces, different places, people, stories. Finally, the night ended. We made our way back. We had dinner. We all went to bed. And though it seems like a whole week ago, this morning we met again on St. Peter's Square. We made our way in for Holy Mass, the Word of God. We participated in this celebration that's so important to us as faithful, but also as communicators, the importance of the Word of God. And before leaving St. Peter's Square, we heard the Angelus prayer, listened once more to Pope Francis. And we made our way in little groups all the way over here. Had a wonderful meal for joining the Narrative Core group for this wonderful dynamic session that they had. Written down, it doesn't seem like that much, but it was a long 3 days. We've been through a lot. And I think it's given us all a lot of opportunities to get together, to get to know each other, and to begin these first 3 days and this first process of learning what it means to be faith communicators, what it means to use our talents to engage with the world in a digital way and help bring promises of hope to those around us. So, now that we've had a moment to review and remember everything that we've experienced, everything we've been through these last 3 days, I want to invite you all to go back to the question that we had. After all of this, after everything you've experienced, you've lived, you've seen,